Hello and welcome to the Game Maker's Notebook. I'm Greg Kasavin, your guest host for this episode, recorded during the 2019 Game Developers Conference. I'm creative director at Supergiant Games, a small independent studio in San Francisco, known for our games Bastion, Transistor, Pyre, and now Hades, currently in early access. Since we're making our first ever early access game, I was all the more excited to speak with Mr. Charlie Cleveland for this episode. Charlie is design director at Unknown Worlds, best known for their work on the atmospheric undersea exploration game Subnautica, as well as the Natural Selection series. It's been a while since I spoke with Charlie in person like this. The last time was almost 5 years ago. I was recovering from the launch of Supergiant's second game, Transistor, while Charlie was trying to figure out where to go with Subnautica, which was just about to launch into early access. Charlie is a longtime industry veteran and walks me through the team's trials and tribulations, turning Subnautica from a simple idea thrust into early access development in an early stage to a well-loved hit. When you're working on an early access game for years, how do you know when you're done? Or better yet, how do you learn to let go of something that's been a part of your life for so long? And what's next, now that Subnautica is officially complete? We delve into these and other topics, such as Charlie's love of board games and tabletop games as a wellspring of design inspiration. Hope you enjoy our conversation.
Welcome to the Game Maker's Notebook, a podcast featuring a series of in-depth one-on-one conversations between game makers providing a thoughtful, intimate perspective on the business and craft of interactive entertainment. The Game Maker's Notebook is presented by the Academy of Interactive Arts and Sciences, a member-driven organization dedicated to the recognition and advancement of interactive entertainment.
Charlie, you're a co-founder at Unknown Worlds, and you folks have been around since 2001, is that correct? So
yeah, depending how you count it.
Yeah, long
time. I was making a mod, working on my mod back in 2000.
Yeah, it's so you have
been through the ringer.
Yeah, for an independent studio, it's like it is quite a bit of experience, even compared to some of the seasoned ones out there.
I feel like we've seen it all. We've tried everything, basically.
It certainly seems that way from looking at your track record. Having worked on, I hopefully it's pleasing to hear that. I think at this point you folks are best known for Subnautica.
Absolutely.
But prior to that, you worked on Natural Selection. Kind of a pretty broad range of games in that regard. And even prior to that, I noted you worked on everything from like kind of civilization spanning real time strategy games on Empire Earth.
Long time ago, Jurassic era, pretty much.
And you have a background in computer science, right? So,
I'm a programmer. I'm a programmer turned designer, basically. Yeah, I still program when they let me, but it's about design and helping run the company and all that stuff.
Very, very cool. Yeah, I definitely have. I'm really curious to hear how you kind of manage those two aspects, since I think
not well.
The evidence suggests otherwise these days. But I have lots of questions, particularly these days. We have a game in early access for the first time, and I don't know that there are folks out there who know the ins and outs and the kind of the trials and tribulations of working on early access games better than you and your team, having gone through that ringer for quite some time.
So back in 2000, when I was working on my little Half-Life mod, we were actually doing early access.
Right.
Like we were releasing texture packs, and before we even had a game, I released like a document describing how to build levels. And here's the texture pack. Go ahead, community, faceless community. Go ahead and build some levels for our non-existent game. Yeah. So we were releasing stuff right away, and we used it as a recruitment tool.
Oh wow!
And actually, that's how we built the first team to make that first mod
for Natural Selection
1. Yeah.
Oh yeah, very good. Yeah, and this is well before the kind of early access kind of branding.
Before Steam.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Oh my god, it was like Planet Half-Life days.
Yeah, because Steam wasn't until 2004, right?
I think it was actually
or maybe
3. I don't know.
Something like
right
that.
around there.
Yeah, that's so how did
we've been releasing unfinished work for a long time, basically.
Right. How did you go from? Can you talk about how you went from because you worked at Stainless Steel, you were saying on Empire Earth. How did you make the switch from from that type of role to like making Half-Life?
Well, they fired me, which was
Okay.
hilarious, but best thing that ever happened to me.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I mean, because I think I really wanted to be working on my own games back then. And I could see, I mean, the game that we were working on was great. The team was great, but I didn't like management. And I really was fighting against it. And, I mean, now I guess as a boss, I could see that if I had someone on my team that was like going the other way from every other person, all you can do is let them go.
Yeah.
Right. And I was so dedicated to that game. I would never have quit.
Right.
But of course, because they did that, I had to pour all my energy into my own project to like basically prove to the world that I could make games.
Yeah.
I was already working on it, but then it was like, okay, now I have to prove that I do know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Which just channeled all my energy into that first mod, Natural Selection 1.
How did you realize you needed a team? Because you were probably doing a lot of it on your own.
Yeah, I mean, back then I was very control-y. So, I mean, I just tried to do as much of it as myself, as I could on my own. And then it was myself and Corey Strader, who's our art director today. So I've been working with Corey for, 20 years, basically. But yeah, I basically just did everything myself as much as possible and told people what to do. And luckily I grew out of that and learned to really embrace the help from other people. And actually each game we work on, I've been able to let go more and allow more people to contribute. And I think that's why Subnautica did as well as it did. There's so much in that game that I don't even know about.
Right.
Like for this GDC talk I just did, I had to go back and understand the game. And which is an impossible task. There's too much in there for anyone to understand. But the whole team was contributing, I mean, to story, to game design, to you name it.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's why it was unified enough,
right,
that all those things kind of dovetailed together and pushing in the same direction.
Yeah, I was at the talk. I found that point really fascinating when you brought up that as far as kind of the world design, you talked about how at a certain point you extricated yourself from the process so that basically level designers and artists could just collaborate directly. That you weren't kind of stuck in the middle doing traffic control.
It was a circular dependency.
Yeah.
Art had questions. Art had requirements to put big creatures in the game, for instance. And then level designers had to figure out how to structure the world so these big creatures could go biome to biome. But they had questions for me about like how big is the world? How long does the game take? Are people going to be swimming in this area? Are they going to be in a submersible? Are they going to be in a sub? How fast does the sub go? And then I try to answer those questions by trying to make some like really vague tech tree progression for a world and a game that doesn't really exist. And I'm trying to figure out where all the loot ingredients are going to come from, and does that fit into like Corey's different concept art? So then my dependency is back on art. Yeah. So then we are trapped, and we spent months at that stage, and we couldn't, we wanted everyone's voice in that. This is all important, right? Art, like level design and, systems. And I realized I had to remove myself completely, and just the art team and the level designers just built the world that they wanted to see, just visually and aesthetically and functionally. And then I had to fit the systems onto the world. Right. And as soon as that happened, we were back moving again. And it just became a constraint for me.
I see.
So I was at the bottom of the food chain on that one.
Yeah. So it's the food chain analogy is interesting.
Was
that like a conscious? That's interesting to think about it in that way as well. But so you felt yourself kind of becoming you're at the center of too many.
We could have removed anyone, right? Yeah. I mean, I think we could have.
Right.
We had to get rid of one of them, and I knew that I could still make the systems work. Yeah. I couldn't tell someone else, bugger off, bug off, whatever.
Were you directly building the systems as well at that point? Okay, that's awesome. Yeah. I was curious about how
crafting and loot ingredients and progression.
Yeah, with the team. How big was the team at that time?
So let's see. That was probably hard. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think.
Working remotely and so on.
Yeah, I mean, we had most of our team then. I mean, we were probably 20 at that point.
Yeah.
15, 20. Yeah. And today we're about 30, 35.
Wow. Okay.
So all around the world.
Yeah. So that's, and you're at the center of that. So that's a lot. Yeah. It's a lot of folks to interact with as well.
Yes. Yeah. But now, I mean, I I judge my success by like the the more I have to talk to people to keep them on track, like the worse of job I'm doing.
Right.
So I mean, if people are, humming along without having to talk to me, things are good.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, they can always ask me, for help or guidance on something, but I would ask other people for the same.
Right.
But generally, people, I don't think there's no dependencies on me.
Yeah. So I remember. So I do want to bring up the kind of anecdote of when I had to dig it up
sight
too.
glass.
So yeah, we spoke.
That was awesome. Did you see the note that I sent you?
I did.
That was
it was
so
amazing.
cool.
It was amazing.
So cool.
Yeah. So we, Charlie and I ran into each other. I think it was like.
I put the date on that.
Yeah, it was very helpful.
14?
It was October, I think, of 2014. So
Okay,
I had a vague sense that it must have been 2014. But for my part, so at Supergiant, we had just shipped our second game, Transistor.
Yep.
Though I wasn't even sure memory-wise whether it was before or after our launch, because that was
after.
I
think it was after.
The date confirms it's after, and I'll take the date's word for it. But yeah, we met.
Good thing for journals.
Yeah, indeed. We met over coffee, and I think you had.
I just bumped into you, I think, actually.
Yeah, that's right. You had just launched Subnautica into early access at that point, or you were about to.
Yeah, 2000. Let's see. We launched
2014.
Yeah, we launched in December of 14.
Okay, so you were just on the verge of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I mean, and you guys started. I mean, again, it spent a good long time in early access.
Yeah, 3 years.
You weren't
3 years,
like
2 months.
You weren't like 6 months away from shipping the full game at that point.
No.
So you had to. Do you remember like what your? It must have been a scary time, right?
We had no money, so we spent all of our NS2 money on this.
I see.
So
how long had it been in development?
Let's see, it was about 2 years.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
it's a good
2 years, $3 million. Wow. So I mean, we were down to, we had a couple $100K left in the bank, and we are super open with the team on this stuff about our finances and all that stuff. So we just said, hey guys, it's time to ship to early access. We're running out of money. I mean, we can go try to raise money, or we can talk to our back then parent company. Maybe they'll give us a loan. And in fact, they actually did give us a loan. Yeah. Perfect world. They gave us an extra month, which was critical for us.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Bridge loan.
1 month.
1 month.
Wow.
And then we launched early December, and we knew that we needed to get profitable right away.
Yeah.
And the scary thing is we actually weren't.
Yeah.
We were just below profitability. It wasn't, I mean, I guess for a lot of teams, it would have been a success, but for a $3 million game, it was not a success.
Based in San Francisco and whatnot as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we were, frenzied at that point, trying to figure out how to find the core of this game. Yeah. What was working, what wasn't.
So this is right
like
before
January-ish.
Right that. I see.
Sorry. Yeah. The frenzy sight glass was right before that, when we met for coffee.
Yeah.
Original story discussion.
Yeah. Yeah.
We kind of planted the seed.
Well, you were still, because you had the broad sense of obviously what the game was going to be, like
not really.
I see.
Just underwater. We just knew underwater and non-violent.
I see.
Or I should say no guns.
So even the part where it was going to be like a survival themed game wasn't necessarily.
We didn't have survival mechanics in.
We
launched without survival.
But you had crafting at least, right?
We had crafting.
Yeah, okay.
We just didn't have hunger thirst.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
And we weren't even planning on it, honestly.
I
wasn't. I didn't want it.
Yeah, and the whole, and obviously the aspect where it is more like aspects of the experience are, I guess, if directed is a fair word, in the sense that there is a narrative to like compel you to pursue. Yeah, so it's not just a pure sandbox with like no context whatsoever. Right. There is like a sense of why you're there, what you're trying to accomplish. In when you play the full game now, all of that came.
So what's funny is we launched as a quote unquote sandbox. Yeah, no even short term goals. And then once we figured out, we added survival, that gave a short term goal, and that, like I was talking about, the training wheels kind of got players into it. They had something immediately that they know they want to do.
Yeah.
And then over time, the survival gets easier and easier. And then by that time, you have your own goals. Yeah. At least that's the idea. I think most people do. They start saying, I want to get to 1,000 meters down. I want to explore the mushroom forest. I want to board the aurora. Right. I want to build a base that's, has like 10 aquariums in it. Like, they come up with their own goals. And then at some point later, we noticed, this is when Tom got involved. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm getting ahead of myself, but we kind of noticed that people were really thirsting for a little more meaning at that point. Like they didn't need it for 5, 10, 15 hours.
Yeah.
But then some people really wanted more. And then we started to want more.
Right.
But we never wanted to push it on players. It's completely optional. It's background. It's a trail of breadcrumbs all over the place.
Right.
And if you follow the trail, then you get rewarded, but you don't have to.
Yeah, yeah. And it makes it's interesting because players probably had already been finding meaning in the world, right? Because they're discovering they're starting to push at the boundaries and
they're like, yeah, is this all there is?
Yeah,
you know, it's like midlife, you know.
Yeah.
Too soon.
So what was there a so if you were in dire straits like a couple of months into the early access launch, and this is probably early 2015.
Yep.
Was there a specific turning point for it?
Yeah.
Was there like could you describe that moment?
I mean, we knew that it was we were in trouble.
Yeah.
And, you know, because we're open, we told the team, hey guys, this isn't doing so great. We're not sure what we're going to do. We have that bridge loan to pay back, which is, you know, we don't go into all the details. So we don't need to unnecessarily stress people out, but hey, we need to do something. And I remember I was actually on vacation in Mexico City when we realized, like, cancel the vacation. We have to cut all this crap that was planned for the game.
Yeah.
These vague scientific goals, terraforming, building habitats. Like I had all these like lofty, abstract, you know, science-y, non-combat goals, gameplay that we could explore for kind of, you know, orienting the player in the game and giving them something to do. And we just cut all that junk and we focused on the immediate visceral, you know, kind of phobia style fear and the stuff that people were clearly reacting to.
I see.
We were just seeing the beginning of the reactions when people like were excited to see like the bottom of the ocean drop off into an abyss.
Yeah.
You know, we had just little tiny bits that you could see their reactions.
Right.
And then we were getting excited about it. So we basically cut all the abstract R&D stuff and just focused on the stuff that we knew was working and did it better.
Yeah.
And that was absolutely the turning point. I mean, and we had a couple features pending that we hadn't released yet, like the Cyclops.
Right.
We made a game with sub in the name and we didn't have a sub in it at early access. We launched the sub, the giant Cyclops. People loved that. That gave them a really cool moment when they built it because it's a pretty big achievement in the game. And then right after that, we did base building.
Right.
And so those things, YouTubers latched onto that.
Yeah.
And then with the cutting and focusing more on the visceral, that really propelled us forward.
Yeah.
And our sales took off.
So was that same year when you made those like kind of tough? So there
2015.
Got it.
February through the end of 2015.
Yeah.
Started off bad, got really good.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, we had like all top tier YouTubers, Markiplier, Jacksepticeye, basically everyone but PewDiePie. They were just like going bonkers, like dozens and dozens of videos each.
They just all picked it up.
They just all went crazy.
Yeah. How did you have any idea what was you had this sense that, you know, some aspects of the game were resonating with people clearly, like what you said, the kind
big
of
creatures.
Yeah,
the awe.
That still must have been a bit how did it feel like when it was just kind of did it feel like you were losing control of it?
No, not
time?
at all.
Yeah,
That was awesome. We were so excited.
Yeah.
Because we had this really regular cadence. Right. You know, every 4 to 8 weeks, we're putting out a big headline patch.
Yeah.
With a trailer, website, you know, really trying to promote it.
Yeah. And
then they just go bonkers, you know.
And you'd already been, I mean, this was already like year 3 of the game.
That was year 3 for the game.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. I mean, the team was tremendously excited to see the videos. And then, you know, we just made us feel like we actually are making a good game. Yeah. You know?
Was it like a, if you build it, they will come type of moment? Like you felt
pretty
like
much.
Because you'd been paying your dues on it for so long.
Yeah.
And something turned and.
Something turned, yeah. I mean, I think I hope it was the empowerment of the team.
Yeah.
And that we had a pretty good idea of what we were building at that point. I mean, I might be Pollyannish in retrospect. I'm sure I am. But I felt like, looking back, I feel like we knew what we were building at that point.
Yeah.
You know, besides the story, we hadn't figured that part out yet, or if we were going to do it.
Yeah.
And I was actually pretty against it. but because I knew how much work it was going to be.
Right.
And it was probably 2 years of work just for story.
Yeah.
I mean, it was massive.
In parallel with everything else you were
True.
doing, of course, right?
Yeah. But it really changed like the content we had to put in the game, and we
I
had
see.
to flesh out the Aurora, and we put in all these precursor prisons and the research base, and just a huge amount of big assets.
Yeah. And that was kind of the next phase after
It was all continuous. Yeah. We were actually releasing story bits piece by piece.
Yeah.
Which was tricky because I'm sure you can imagine. I don't know if you're doing that with Hades or not.
We are. Yeah,
Okay.
we are. It is really I think I saw you mentioning, since the game is in this early access state, you're having to kind of drip feed aspects of this. It's all kind of going in different states, right? Or it's not necessarily going in a way that is the most optimal from like a pure storytelling standpoint.
Nope, not at all.
But it
Sometimes
works.
you have to. Yeah, it works.
It works,
yeah,
right?
and we had to decide that it's okay to spoil players.
Yeah, right.
And as soon as we let that go, then we would occasionally change things too. I'm pretty sure. I don't think our story was completely set in stone. I can't remember. I don't know if we did any big pivots on story after, like if we had released a beat and then like changed it noticeably. I mean, Tom would know more about that. I don't remember. I don't think we did.
Yeah.
But we just decided, hey, like as long as people are playing the game and enjoying the process, like Jonas was talking about how we thought of the early access as a show.
Right. Yeah.
And it is like, it's an experience, and we see people like post now, like now that we're doing it again on the follow-up Below Zero.
Right.
People are like, oh, it's like those glory days when we're all involved, and they always use terms like we're making the game. And it's like this amazing that people use phrases like that.
Yeah. That they feel that.
They feel like they're making the game. And of course they are in a way.
Yeah.
Like their videos and their feedback do direct the game quite directly. I mean, quite noticeably. But we just had to let go of being precious about anything.
Right.
And that it helped too because we had this experimental branch.
Yeah.
So twice a day, whether you want it to or not, we automatically build the state of the game and release it to everyone that is subscribed to this experimental, which is many thousands of players.
Right.
It's probably tens or hundreds of thousands of players. And we would see even people like Markiplier would make videos
playing that version
on the experimental version because they didn't want to wait for the next patch.
You guys ever break the build on
Huge. I remember at one of our retreats, we had just put Rex in, and we saw a bug. We saw a whole video where Markiplier was basically exploring the bugs. It was like he would swim down and see a wreck. Well, he would see where a wreck was spawning, except the wreck itself wouldn't spawn, but all the loot inside the wreck would.
Oh, so it's just this bizarre,
you would just it's this bizarre like swim up to an area, and all of a sudden all this random loot would appear in the water, and then just all drift down to the bottom, and then he'd get stuck on some invisible geometry somewhere, and we're just like grimacing, and this is like 4 million view video, and you're like, and that again, I come back to this reframing idea, but we had to reframe it where we were happier. It's better to get a view of a bug than not to get a view.
Right.
Especially as a quote unquote independent, as anyone making a game, it's better to get a buggy view than no view. Yeah. That's the world we live in now. Yeah. That's how we think of it.
No, indeed. And I think you, I found, back to some of what you were discussing in your talk, you talked about this idea of like listening to the game and just, actually found that to be one of the most, the part that really stuck with me the most in your talk, especially since there was a connection. You cited like a Stephen King quote from his from On Writing, where he kind of describes this process where at a certain point the characters in his stories kind of take on a life of their own, and I relate to that a lot from a writing standpoint. But there's the broader connection to working on a game like this, where some of these whatever best laid plans you had about terraforming and whatever, at a certain point, like you're more of a steward of this game, and like your own specific expectations about it have to fall by the wayside for what it really is shaping up to be and what's compelling about it. But how, like, how do you kind of swallow? I mean, I guess you've explained some of it. I was going to ask, how do you swallow your pride around that? I guess when you're about to, when the studio is running out of money, that could be one way.
Yeah, that's true.
But how do
I don't think we're precious about that stuff.
Yeah.
I think, but also it's not like we just went for the biggest views and we just made that game.
Yeah.
It wasn't like we didn't have our desires. We were just true to our desires. We just, it's like the one mountain, many paths. Like the mountain, and as long as you get to the top of the mountain, you're super happy.
Right.
But the path itself, you just have no idea.
Right.
So when we saw how the terror stuff was working, we were excited.
Yeah.
It's just like we learned, the game is actually better than we thought it was. We thought it was originally.
These other things you thought would be necessary to making it good, they're not even necessary anymore.
Not necessary. Yeah. In fact, they're a distraction.
Yeah, that was our big hope with making an early access game for the first time.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, I think this is your first.
Yeah, it is, absolutely.
Wow.
Our previous games have been these kind of like one and done affairs, right? Where for our last two games, they spent 3 years in the making, and then they have these kind of decisive endings. So there isn't even really room for a continuation. This is referring to Pyre and Transistor.
Yep.
We release them, and then that's it. It's this big cathartic moment, but we find ourselves, I certainly found myself about halfway through each of those projects realizing how committed we were to the specific ideas that to specific decisions that we'd already made, and we just have to finish this now. And we would find ourselves sometimes kind of rat holing on highly specific aspects of the experience during production. And it's man, we just need to make a decision here and move on, because we're fighting over some small detail of this game that probably is going to be inconsequential for most. The big stuff is already decided about this game, so we just need to finish it and get it out there and see what everybody thinks. But the exciting aspect of early access was we could get an idea out there sooner and then make hopefully more refined decisions along the way about how to shape it from there. And because we'll have that feedback, we'll know what the equivalent of what you're saying, this aspect of the game really resonates with people. So why don't we invest more in this aspect rather than doing all this stuff where we just don't,
on something new that you don't even have any data on.
Yeah, we don't even know if we maybe have a hunch that this is valuable to the experience or that people will like it, but it's really hard, especially if you've been working on it for a couple of years already. You get very close to it. You don't know if you don't have that feedback.
And you can still prototype that stuff, and we did.
Yeah.
And some of those, I'm sure I have to think about some specific examples, but we would prototype stuff and release it and, find out. It's not like we weren't experimenting still.
Yeah.
We were. And it was a continuous process for seeing what resonated with the community. It wasn't just wasn't really a fork in the road. It was just I don't know. It's it was a continuous process.
Right.
It was constant.
And you're, and the game is there's a lot of specific atmospheric detail in the game that another to tie back to another thing you were talking about. Sometimes it's important. You refer to the kind of the idea of the minimal crappy product to use your term of
MCP. You heard it here first. That's mine, everyone.
Sometimes you just have to get something in there, right? You can't spend too much time getting the prototype to get too fancy when you just need to get the idea on the board. But then at a certain point, there is that gap, right, where you do want to polish it and make it how did you find yourselves polishing as you when do you make room to kind of make it good and get past the initial sort of crummy prototype where you have to use too much imagination?
I mean, I know Blizzard says you should polish all along the way, and we try. Of course, every team tries. I mean, we actually had a polish period at the end of the game, which we've never done before, and it was amazing. We actually had time to spend 3 months just fixing bugs, tuning, removing little, sanding all the rough edges. Yeah. And it helped us a ton. I mean, I can only imagine if we had another 3 months. Oh, yeah. I mean, I guess we could have. We actually had the budget. We could have. Yeah. But we just wanted to finish it. It was ready. Yeah.
I was going to ask about that too. How did you know, did you hear the kind of award speech music faintly playing in your head as far as like when is it time to like when do you know when you're done
I mean, we were starting to get sick of working on it.
I see.
You know, I mean, at least I was.
Yeah.
Because I was a year, actually, no, I was like 6 or 8 months before the rest of the team.
Yeah.
It was myself and this guy, Steve. We started working on the game together, the original prototypes.
Right.
So we predated the team by half a year, almost a year. So by the time everyone else got on, like and by the time we got to that point 4 or 5 years later, I'm like, okay, I gotta do something else.
Yeah. Well, so then I have to ask, because I was impressed and surprised that you went from like, I think almost to the day, like 1 year after. Yeah. Is this correct? 1 year after the 1.0 launch of Subnautica, you have Subnautica Below Zero.
Yeah, that's right.
So I was like, man, you went from, and it's a new game in kind of the universe of Subnautica, Arctic setting, same planet, right?
Yep, same planet.
The
1 year later, new character.
Yeah. So how do you like what was the clean break there? Like how did that not like how do you get worked up and excited for that when you're also coming off of working on a game that you feel like you've been working on it for a long time?
So I think the team, like we have these, because we're a distributed team. Yeah, we like have these retreats every 8 months or so, and we had our release party, and we all went to Mexico, and we had this big release celebration, basically a week-long celebration. That's awesome. It's really fun. And we started talking about what are we going to do next. But that was like a week after 1.0. We didn't know we were going to do expansion.
Yeah. We're like that too. We never
really okay.
We people are surprised about that.
Like, how can you focus on that? You have to finish the game.
That's
work
right.
on the game.
Yeah, that's our mindset exactly. Yeah. We don't count our chickens before they hatch and all that. We know that after we're done with a game, we're going to feel different. So anything that we plan before then, we're probably going to want to do something else after that.
Yes.
Yeah. So you're saying
yeah. So then we just started talking about what we want to do next. Yeah. And do we want to do Subnautica 2? Do we want to just follow it up with something smaller, something different? And the team just seemed to get really excited around this Arctic concept. Yeah. And then Tom Joubert, the writer, I can't remember. I think he actually had like a small pitch that he put together while we were there.
Oh, cool.
And we just started talking, and everyone's like drinking wine and swimming, and you're not in front of your computer, so your mind is open, and people, you're hearing Spanish everywhere, and I don't know, it's puts you in a different mindset. Yeah. And people just started to get excited about this Arctic idea. I mean, we had already thought about Arctic beforehand, and it actually, at the end of Subnautica, you actually get a glance. Right. There's like a little camera turn that looks at the Arctic zone without giving away the spoilers for the ending. So we knew it was coming, but we just didn't know like sequel, or we just didn't know the specifics.
Yeah, I see.
But I'm actually not working on that. I'm not as excited about Subnautica. I mean, I love it. I love the world, but I need to do something else. I see. So I'm actually working on a different game. But so we're making the transition to a 2-game company right now.
Oh, very
cool.
Which
is really painful.
I can imagine. That's
so many people go out of
realize that.
Yeah, they go out of business when they do that, and we tried it once actually and failed, and we're trying it again. That was at the beginning of Subnautica.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, we had a game called Future Perfect, which is kind of like a modding platform, and like a kind of a Gary's mod where you could make your own games, almost Robloxy a little bit, but higher fidelity. And I don't know why that didn't work, but we tried it. I mean, looking back, it's the same problems we're having now. Yeah. Like, a company is kind of like a family, so you have these dynamics that work because everyone has learned their place. And when you start to break it up into 2 new teams, like whole, responsibilities or, areas of responsibilities disappears, and then stuff doesn't work anymore. You have to, we need somebody else to like direct this game. We need somebody else to do the writing, someone else to do all the technical leadership. So you basically have to hire again, and then, but it's complicated.
So you're in the thick of that right now.
We're in the thick of that now.
I see.
Yep.
And you're the project you're focused on is that's not announced or anything.
No, we haven't announced it. It's actually very far along. Yeah. And it's nothing like Subnautica. It's completely different. We're like, I guess you guys stick more to a genre. I guess you start, We've
kind of
you have the same camera.
Done both. Yeah. Yeah.
That's kind of like us, actually. We have the same camera, but we switch genres.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, it's part of the pleasure of being a smaller studio is we don't get too bound by our, even though we've been fortunate to have successes like it's, we didn't make Halo or like we can justify going to do something different. And when we thought about our future, we're like, we'd rather look back and be able to say that we tried doing a lot of different things.
That's amazing.
It would have been easy for us to just go and make more Bastion games or something after our initial success, but it was felt more exciting and more scary, just more everything kind of creatively invigorating to go and try and do something else after our first game.
So how big are you guys now?
We grew to 18 over the last year.
But I had no idea.
We were 12. We were 7 people on Bastion, and then we grew to 12 for Transistor, and basically we stayed 12 from something like, what was it, like 20, from 2012 until last year we were 12 people, and then we grew quite a bit for Hades, knowing that we wanted to get the first version out there relatively soon, because we had just launched Pyre in basically late July of 2017, and then only a year and change later we had our next game out.
I wish we could make games every 3 years, like finished games or something like that.
Well, make them small and don't make them open world. Yeah,
I guess so.
That can help constrain them.
God, that's awesome.
I
have questions for you, but like, so why are you on the Epic Store exclusively? I mean, I'm sure Epic is incentivizing people, but
since it's an early access thing, it's like we didn't feel like we can conduct early access in multiple places. Period. So that's kind of the main.
Oh, you can.
It's
easy.
You guys are demonstrating that is in fact possible.
Yeah, I mean, so are you worried about the community, like the community outreach?
No. For us, I mean, we ain't got your chops when it comes to this. You may say it's easy. For us, it's we want to take our careful steps into these
early
waters.
Access.
Yeah, like we're up to like 18 or so updates since our December launch. So we've been updating the game. We do major updates on roughly a monthly basis, but we then do a lot of like follow up. We really value the kind of the speed of iteration, being able to focus on a single version of the game. So that's where we're at with it right now. But once early access is complete, we plan to bring it to a bunch of different platforms.
So you're only comfortable in early access for like a few million players.
We or however many it's going to be. I mean, we actually, if we had all our players right now, we'd be screwed anyway, right? Like we want for the player base to grow over time, and again, like if we had like millions of people all giving us feedback, we would be completely overwhelmed, and we would have other problems. Like we have just the right audience where like we can get real. We put a new update out there. We could get real time feedback on it, and be like really responsive with our community. But it's not so like deafening to where it puts us in a state of like paralysis or anything. Like but again, this is from our point of view of working on games in relative isolation, I guess, for a lot. So the idea of having to like work on them like with a spotlight on us from community,
that's hard
like we
enough
knew
already.
We knew it was going to take additional time, and we had some sense of it, but without having the lived experience, we just went into it with an abundance of caution, I think.
Are you getting like fight back on your team about this releasing stuff in the public eye before it's done?
Not.
Or I guess it's not really before it's done.
Yeah. No. I mean, I think everyone like we planned this game, like this being an early access game was like before there was even a theme for this game, there was the decision to make it an early access game. So it all actually started from a decision to want to get like a kind of a representative slice of it out there, and then continue to build it. Instead of making one of our games that has like a very fixed and specific amount of content to it, a game that we could like grow more organically and kind of listen to it more, kind of like what you were saying. So everyone, while we were certainly for someone like, so I was very gung ho about the idea myself, but it's also a scary thing for someone like me, working on the stories of our games, because it seems antithetical to working on a narrative game to have to do it kind of in the public eye. But even that aspect proved to be really exciting. It's like, well, I bet we can. This will just be different, and we could treat it more like a serial, almost like a show, like what you were saying, where it's expanding over time, and we can just turn it into this kind of living experience instead of just a one-off like our previous game. So that was both a mix of, for sure there's some aspects of that are scary, but on the whole it was exciting for us to pursue. Now we're in the thick of it. Still maybe in the honeymoon phase a little bit, because we only launched a few months ago, so we'll see how it is come whatever, October or something like that, once we're grizzled veterans in the early access thing. But yeah, so far so good.
Do you think it's improving the quality of your game?
It is for sure. Yeah, it just objectively is doing that. Between issues that just are like, there's stuff in the game that even our team, like our community, immediately found almost everything about the game, right? Like whereas players on the team, there was stuff that was in there that I think no one person on the team had seen all of it, especially with like a roguelike kind of randomized structure. But players have. It feels really good when the stuff you put into the game that that it can get seen and given feedback. And I'm sure with a game like yours, that's really important as well. When there's stuff deliberately put into like dark corners of the world, and it's like, if no one experiences it, like how do you even know if it's any good?
Absolutely.
So that part has been invigorating for sure. So there's it has its it's not like, I don't know that it's like a strictly better way to make games or anything. Like it's really good for certain types of games is my feeling when it comes to the early access thing. And it seemed we've seen such great success stories with it, including Subnautica and these games like Slay the Spire and Dead Cells in the last couple of years that were like, man, some of these games have really managed to do it right. And those are, and then we've seen other cases where it seemed like it was more of a struggle, where maybe the relationship with the community has been more, I don't know, I guess that's a whole nother can of worms, but like we were inspired by, we found common patterns among games that we perceived to like do a good job with early access and their relationship with our community and how they were gathering feedback and all that sort of stuff.
It's funny that you said it may not be an objectively better way to make games, and I'm like, yes, it is.
Yeah, maybe it is.
But then I was thinking, we're actually not doing early access really on this other new game.
Oh, interesting.
So I mean, I guess in the past we needed to do early access, and I love it. And in general, it's my comfort zone.
Yeah.
But it isn't it's not the way to do every game.
Right. Like that was part of it for us and why we chose the theme that we did. And so like, I think like for our, back when we were talking over coffee, we had just shipped Transistor. Transistor is it's like a 6-hour, like narrative heavy game. That game would really not have worked well in early access at all because people would have burned through all the content in a day. And it would have been really, really bad because that's a game that comes into its own when the polish is there. It's a game that is like the minimum crappy product for like 2.5 years or something like that. And then you kind of put on the finishing touches and it kind of comes together and the atmosphere, suddenly breathes life into the experience. But for the longest time, it's just not really worth people even playing it outside of the team or people with like sufficient context for it. And the play tests are excruciating and we wouldn't have known what to do with the feedback. So, whereas now we're making a game that's designed around replayability. So it just makes more sense.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And with Subnautica, did you find that players, they just kind of stick with their save and keep like would they like restart a lot, or would they just kind of stick with their existing?
So, I mean, early on, actually, I was really hoping that it was going to be more of a roguelike kind of game.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, we had to throw that away. That was painful. But so we started off doing procedural generation of the world.
Right.
And the people, I guess we just couldn't ever get the visual quality up to where we wanted it. And we realized, we decided to do a PAX demo like before early access. And we knew that we could not get the random generation working well enough to demo it.
Right.
So we were like, okay, screw this. Let's just make like one little set piece. We're just going to hand build everything, out of voxels. And then we looked at the quality and like, this is what we want. Like, it's so clear. This is, again, the thing I was talking about. It's like the building your way forward. Yeah. If we hadn't built that, we wouldn't have immediately known this is the way forward. We could have just been stuck doing procedural stuff for the next 6 months. Interesting. Or maybe even shipping that and shipping something subpar. Yeah. So yeah, we wanted to do more roguelike, and then we ended up, I mean, people mostly continue their saves, I think. Although we had a perception in the community that we weren't backwards compatible with our saves because we had a really confusing upgrade save message that was like in red. Yeah. And it was like, I don't know why this thing was so confusing for people, but it just said something like, if we've upgraded a biome that you have in your save game, like we're going to overwrite your save where that biome was updated. Like if we replace one biome with another and you have a base in that place, it's going to be blown away. Yeah. We have to keep the game integrity. And I've never met anyone that said they lost something in a save game. Yeah. But like half the people think that we didn't support backwards compatibility. Interesting.
It just kind of terrified.
It was like the red, and it happened every time, and we were patching all the time. So I don't know what the lesson is there, but
no, the messaging is as someone who has to write all those types of messages, among others, it is. The word choice really and the kind of intensity of it is a fascinating subject.
But early access, you can now like revise that. That's right. You can see it.
Yeah, we have like all kinds of abilities and stuff that is constantly evolving the text. And people give feedback. They'll be like, "What is it?" They'll alert us to the fact that things are confusing that we would have just never. We would have just shipped them, right? Like we wouldn't have thought twice, but it gives us a chance to update those things, and players are receptive to it. They're okay with it. They understand it's in early access, and that things like that can evolve.
Yeah, and if they don't like it, they shouldn't be playing EA
early access. That's right.
You can wait. It's fine to wait. Yeah, but it's also fine to buy the game to support the developer and just not play it.
Yeah. Or the experience I've often had just as a player of early access, like Darkest Dungeon or Dead Cells or something like that. Like I was really inspired by those games that like they were amazing. I think from the moment they launched,
they were.
Yeah. And I played a ton of them.
The ante on launching early access
games. Yeah. So we, but I still didn't. So I played a lot of those games when they first came out, but I didn't like stick with them. I didn't like play every one of their. I then came back to them after they were done. Yeah. And I felt great about that.
Yeah.
But now it's funny. Now I look at with our game, it's like, are we, are players sticking with it and all this stuff? Right. I have to remind myself that people can like it, but choose not to like sort of burn themselves out.
Every single update.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's an interesting experience with it. Yeah. As long as they check it out once all is said and done, but it does feel like putting on a show as we go, and there's a fun experience there to be able to stick with it and feel like you're making an impact.
I kind of think of it like if you go to a restaurant and you sit at the bar, which can look into the kitchen.
Oh yeah. That's interesting.
That's kind of what it's like. You just want to see what's going on behind there, and it may not be the most comfortable seat in the restaurant, but like you're getting a view into like how it's made. And it's wonderful.
It's the real deal. Yeah, and you appreciate the end result kind of more when you see people just kind of.
Absolutely
chipping away at it,
or you felt like you learned something, or you felt like you were on the inside for an evening, even if you weren't exactly. But it's not for everyone, but some people really love it.
Yeah. So I wanted to go back to one of the. Oh well, there's.
I know you wanted to talk about story.
No, I want to talk. I'm interested in story too. I'm really interested in how. I was going to talk about how your kind of evolving role as as game director as well,
Yeah.
because there's this constant push and pull, I think, for someone in your position that it sounds like you're still very close to your games.
Yeah.
But I think there's like something that can happen to folks in your position that over time you become more and more distant from the game and more responsible just for the you're focused purely on the studio level on the team, and you're more of like a you've
facilitator.
transcended, you've transcended from working on the game, and you have like a more like you used to work on real-time strategy games, right?
Yeah.
You have more of like a commander type
Right.
of role, and you're not on the field.
Right.
But it sounds like you've very deliberately stayed close to the game. So how do
That's
you
why
find,
I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm not here to run a company. I mean, I do have to run the company, and I enjoy that. But at the end of the day, like if I don't have to work, then what am I going to do? What am I going to do with my spare time? It's going to be making games. It's not going to be like hiring people and helping them with their careers and figuring out how to do profit sharing and all that extra stuff, which I actually really do like business. And I read business books for fun, basically. But at the end of the day, it's building games.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be programming necessarily, but designing, prototyping, watching people playing the game. That's what I love.
And you're in there tuning the numbers. And building the tech. Yeah. So
although for Subnautica, the kind of cool thing was the last 6 months, I was like pretty much burned out of it.
Right.
And I didn't really feel like I was that necessary anymore because I was kind of just guiding it, like doing the original prototypes and then like helping make decisions on lots of things and, building tools, like actually, in-game tools, like, terraforming and, the crafting menus. I did a lot of that stuff. But over time, I realized I don't even know all the, like, if you want to tune the loot in Subnautica, you kind of have to know the entire world map. Yeah, right. And I don't know that. Like, I didn't build it, but we have this guy Michael on our team who did build a lot of it. I mean, we have 3 level designers, sometimes 4. And so who is better at tuning the loot? He's way better at it. So he just took over. So at some point, I just kind of like slowly backwalked away from everything, and everything just kept going. Yeah. So the last 6 months, the team did everything. I mean, maybe they would occasionally ask for help on something if they wanted feedback on something, but for the most part, I didn't have to. And then transitioned on working on a new game. And then finding, your question was, balancing game direction and business. Okay. And at some point I just realized, okay, the business is suffering because I don't want to be spending my time on the business. I wasn't doing one-on-ones with people, with 30 plus people. It's a full-time job just to do one-on-ones. Yep. And then you throw in the business and the legal and all the agreements that are happening, all the distribution and stuff. We knew we needed someone else to help. Mm-hmm. We've been talking about hiring a president for a long time. Probably 4 years, and we never had the money, and we never could find the right person, and we found the right person, and we have the money right now. We just hired someone. He's amazing, Ted. Oh, excellent. He's taking over all the business and doing it way better than I ever have. He's basically just fixing our business. I see. Which is amazing. So now I'm just focused on making games. That's great. And that's where incredible. You want to be. That's where I want to be. That's where I'm good. Like I'm not great at the business. So. Right. But then it must be really, it sounds like you've just had many experiences around it at this point, like having the presence of mind to notice what are those times when you should let go and kind of when I'm holding it back, basically. Yeah, because I'm doing a half-assed job. Was there a time when it was more difficult when you were kind of more possessive around it? Because I think for a lot of developers who are like really part of small teams, really close to many aspects of their games, that can be really hard to like. You used to do the tuning of the system, but now you're like now I'm not going to do this anymore. You got to find someone better. And once you find someone better, you're like, you gladly hand it over. I see. You just have to, at that point, you just see it, right? You see that someone else can. They're just better. Yeah. Like Michael is better at that. He's way more rigorous about this stuff than I am. And when he wants to present like a sweeping loot change, he's like researched all these different avenues. Yeah. Like by the time people are ready to criticize it, he's already done. He's got the counter answer for everything because he's more rigorous than I am. Yeah. I'm a little more impulsive. Right. Maybe a lot more impulsive. But so same thing with Ted.
Yeah.
He's just going to run the business better. I'm happy to give over the keys.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know at some point I'm going to be dead, and we don't want the business to die when that happens.
Yeah.
So
Want to be around.
We want this thing needs to keep going anyways. And now we're also making the transition potentially to start allowing other people on the team to be making their own games.
I see.
We're just starting to explore that. So not everything has to go through me.
Yeah.
What a terrible process to have everything go through me and my taste.
Right.
I've already been wrong so much on Subnautica. Like if I was the one making all the decisions on that game, the game wouldn't be where it is.
Interesting.
So we want other people to be able to feed into that and start new projects, and then we have something that's really growing and exploding.
Yeah. That's amazing. That makes sense.
It's a transition. It's hard, but
so what's your favorite? You've had to shift focus. You've gone from like the most kind of micro level tuning of your games to like having to do the most high level kind of business decisions, including those really tough conversations about the state of the fate of the entire studio, right? So what is there an aspect of it that is your like what's your absolute favorite aspect of what you do?
Activity?
Yeah.
Or
just like
favorite
your favorite part of your work over the years. Is there the thing
prototyping new games?
I see. Yeah. That's the thing
That's
never.
the thing.
They'll
Just
have
like,
to claw that away from you.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I love to make like here's a new game idea. Like here's the music, here's the feel, here's it, and it's working. It's a playable game.
Yeah.
Those minimum crappies are just so thrilling. Yeah. And I do it as much as I can. I actually do it less on video games these days. I do it more on board games.
Yeah. Oh, I wanted to ask you about board games because I know. Like on your you've written a lot about board games over the years and stuff.
I guess I got less interested in the technical part of making video games, and there is so much technical. And I mean, I'm a decent programmer, but it is going to always hold me up. Right. It's going to slow me down, and I spend so much time in front of my computer already. I kind of, in my spare time, I don't necessarily want to spend more time. Yeah. So with a board game, it's like it's the land of pure design. Yeah. And so you can just try crazy things, and in an hour you can have a playable game. Yeah. And then you invite your friends over and you try it. And sometimes it's magic on the table. Other times usually it falls flat, but there's something there that gets you excited.
I feel like the games you've worked on, like the video games you've worked on are pretty different. Like I wouldn't necessarily assume that you have
because they're more experiential.
Yeah. So have you ever?
I'm super into systems, actually.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. Atmosphere and systems.
That part is evident. Yeah. Okay. Do you enjoy the separation there, or would you ever like want to make something that is more like a video game that is more board game in its?
Oh yeah, I would love to.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah, I would love to. I don't really think it's necessarily a great idea. But I mean, more systems I'm in. I mean, no more than is required, of course, not systems just for systems, but I'm more excited about like a single system to rule them all. Right. It's like the most beautiful system that is endlessly extensible.
Are there certain like what are the must play board games as someone with like with a refined taste around them?
Man!
If nothing immediately.
No, they definitely do. I mean, the two that jump out at me right now are Keyforge and Scythe. Yeah, and maybe Wingspan. Wingspan is really interesting. But Keyforge is from Richard Garfield, the Magic the Gathering creator, and he worked for like a decade on this new game. Wow. And he removed mana from Magic. Yeah, which is shocking. Right. And he removed deck customization. So you buy a deck and it's pre-built.
That's it. Yeah.
And you know about it? Or
no, I haven't. I'm really interested, but very removed.
Okay.
I don't have my playing group, so I'm asking.
Okay, we have another hour for Keyforge. Okay,
that's true. Maybe it's a dangerous line of questioning.
I'll do it real quick. Yeah. But you buy a deck that's unique. Yeah. Now we have essentially the factory technology to build decks on demand at a large scale. So every deck is unique, has a unique card back, a unique name, and the card distribution inside is guaranteed unique in the world.
Weird.
Yeah. So it's super weird. So you buy a deck, it's 100% unique. You now discover your deck. Yeah. So you play your deck, you can't change it.
Yeah.
You know, anyone would know instantly if you changed it because the cards don't match.
Right. I see.
So the backs are different. Though people in practice, they don't seem to check because nobody wants to customize their deck. You wouldn't play this game if you wanted to customize. And now you have this little it's basically like a microcosm that you're exploring, and you're getting to know your deck. And you might play, the first time you play a deck, you'll see what it's doing.
Yeah.
And it has certain attributes, and maybe you resonate with it, maybe you don't. Maybe you realize, oh man, these two cards really fight against these two cards.
Yeah.
Why did they put them in together? But I think these other cards are so powerful. I think I know how to mitigate the bad matches. So I'm going to learn how to play this game, and I'm going to learn to mitigate the weaknesses so I can focus on the strengths.
Yeah. How are those decks being? Is a designer somewhere creating those decks?
No, but there's an algorithm that, Richard hasn't talked much about it, but he's talked enough about it, and I've researched it. I think I know how he's doing it. It's actually very simple.
They are being generated.
They're being generated,
like synergistically or whatever.
It's super intelligent. You get a deck and you can see what it's doing.
When
you
it's
play it,
random.
No, it's like this deck is unique. It's based around this one card, this one strategy, and they might have like 3 of those cards.
Yeah,
and you're just gonna like hit the person with that card. So
that's really cool.
That was it blew my mind. It has all these wonderful side effects. Like the game's meta is not static.
Yeah,
because Magic or any other customizable card game, Netrunner, people find optimal strategies and they just build decks, and they all kind of groupthink because it's the best, or we think it's the best. And that doesn't happen in Keyforge.
Interesting.
You just have to play your deck. Like, you just got to get good at your deck, or you can buy a bunch of decks and then choose which one you think is the best if you want. But but since you can't mix cards from different decks, right? The community can't coalesce around one idea, one strategy, which keeps it super refreshing, and all the cards get played.
Yeah.
Which is, if you're making a game, you want your whole game to be played. You don't want 90% of it to get thrown away because it's less good than the rest.
I've been playing Hearthstone for 5 years.
Me too. I love Hearthstone so much.
Man.
We have to talk about this after.
Here's one more hour.
Yeah. Okay. Another hour.
Yeah. Because that's an example of as wonderful as that game is. Yeah, for sure. There's like they release a set of 130 cards, and a relatively small percentage of them see a majority of play, and some never.
I find it really wasteful.
Yeah,
think about all that work going into making all those
they all
cards.
get the same, and surely there are cards in each set that get like an inordinate amount of work, but never get played. Yeah.
They never get played. Yeah. Or if you play them, people think you're a dumbass.
Yeah, or you're
now
just
you feel crappy,
memeing around or whatever. Right?
Yeah, people. Yeah. That's not good.
Yeah,
put work into a game to make your players feel like crap. Like, you feel like crap because you get the card, or you feel like crap because somebody shames you for using it.
Yeah.
And then you play a game. You're playing a game where people think that you feel bad about yourself because of your choices before the game started.
Yeah, there's a kind of an elitism that can come with card games. Like, oh, you're playing that.
Oh, you're like level 4.
Yeah.
You don't know anything, scrub.
Yeah. No, that's which when you have card rarity, maybe some of that is kind of unavoidable. Of like, oh, I have all the fancy, rare cards, and you just have the cheap.
I spent more or played more.
Yeah.
Therefore, I am better.
Well, I didn't know you were into. I knew you were interested in board games, but card games specifically as well. Hearthstone is my first
digital
like my first game. Like CCG really. Yeah, I played a little bit of Magic, but I didn't really have the like real life like playing group to really get into a ton of board games and stuff, and so it's nice to have the kind of digital counterparts for that kind of experience. Yeah, because they're pure like systems games, like what you're saying, and it's just all about how to mix and match the pure rules of it. And
it's the cards, basically.
Right.
It's the exact cards. The system is so light.
Right.
It's amazing. And I hate to say it. I don't know if I hate to say it, but I think Hearthstone is actually better than Magic. I never would have believed that I could say that. But
the refinement of it, right? Yeah,
just everything about it is better than Magic. And Magic is my favorite game of all time, basically.
Oh, interesting.
It's up there. Yeah. Cosmic Encounter is technically my favorite game of all
Cosmic
time.
Encounters.
Which is where Magic.
I wouldn't necessarily like be able to detect like Magic influence in the games you've worked on at Unknown Worlds. On the face of it. But
just wait a little bit. Yeah,
fair enough.
But you can see the Cosmic Encounter influence in Magic, probably. If you
I'm less.
Or you never played Cosmic?
Okay. That's a blind spot for me.
Okay,
Unfortunately,
it's every player. It came out in the 70s. Most people don't even know about this game, but every player is an alien race, and that alien has one player power that breaks the game. Like for instance, like the loser when he fights in combat, normally like the highest value in combat wins, but for him the lowest value wins.
Oh, weird.
If you fight the loser, you need low cards, not high cards, which is flips the game around. And then other players can like look in your hand and force you to play certain cards. And then you start allying the players together. Every round when they attack each other, you have temporary alliances. So you're combining those basic, say it's a 5-player game, you have 5 basic rules. You're combining those 5 rules in different combinations against each other on different teams. Possibility space blows up so fast. Every time you play the game, it's a different game.
So I'll take back one thing I said, because you have like, I think it was, let me make sure I get this right. You've said Unknown Worlds has the goal to unite the world through play, and I think some of the games that you're describing have that component, right? They're like competitive games, but also like community games, and with Subnautica, of course, has like a really strong community, but it's like a solo. It's designed to be a solo experience, right? So do you see yourself? Do you prefer like solo experiences to more communal experiences, or is there? Do you just see
I like them
the
both.
value? Yeah,
I mean, we actually wanted Subnautica to be multiplayer from the start. That was the original idea, and then we just never got to it.
I see. Like as with some of those other cutting room floor type ideas.
Everything else. I mean, I think our number one feature request for Subnautica is multiplayer.
I see.
Over and over and over. It will never stop. And I hope one day we could do it, not for Subnautica, but for future Subnautica. But we did put time capsules in Subnautica, which does, like, as you play the game, you find these time capsules that have like poems or pictures or memes or whatever, and like ingredient loot inside them. And those are left by other players.
Oh, fair.
But you may not know that when you find them. They're like seated in your game. And when you beat the game is when you get the moment where you realize, I'm fabricating a time capsule. Oh, wait, these time capsules are coming from players.
No, that's great though.
So it's all the players before you who are laying the groundwork and helping you get through the game. So we do have that. We wanted to put that in there to like, add that kind of uniting, feeling connected. Although I think some people love the loneliness so much. I don't know if they love it, but it's so pronounced that they felt like that was a violation of the loneliness.
Interesting.
Which I thought was interesting.
That's interesting as well.
Though
it sounds like the playing with others, though, that's kind of where you got your start very much.
Definitely.
Your early
I love
work
multiplayer.
And,
This is our first single player game.
Right.
First single player game I've ever worked on. So
that's fascinating. Well, I think we
blabbed enough.
Starting to wind down here, but where I do want to make sure, where can folks kind of get in touch with you, find out more about you on the internet?
On the internet, I do use Twitter. It's my one social media, Flayra, Flayra, and I'm unknownworlds.com, Charlie at unknownworlds.com. That's it.
You have Subnautica and Subnautica Below Zero out now, and doing the early access thing once again, and then whatever I think we can all look forward to, whatever it is you're cooking up these days as well.
Can't wait to talk about it.
To hear more about it. And for my part, I'm Kasavin on Twitter. It's my last name, and Supergiant Games is the studio I work at, so you can check out our stuff as well. And Charlie, it's been
it's been really fun. We didn't really talk about story, but maybe next time.
Let's
go get some coffee, it's like less.
Yeah, indeed. Oh, thanks again.
All right, thanks, Greg.
Thank you for joining us for the Game Maker's Notebook. For more information on the Academy of Interactive Arts and Sciences, our podcasts, and our other initiatives, please visit www.interactive.org.